Welcome to Peace News. We're live. It's Thursday, December 11th, 2014. Good to be with you. I'm Derek J. You can learn more about me at my website, derekj.me, and you can listen to this show live at lrn.fm. That's the Liberty Radio Network. Tonight, we'll be talking about peaceful resistance, as we do every episode of Peace News. People who are using peaceful means to stand up to arbitrary authority. I love to showcase that. There's plenty of it happening around the world, but the mainstream media just doesn't focus on these types of stories. I have with me in studio Garrett Ian of freeconcord.org. How you doing?
Oh, doing wonderful.
And you're also a blogger at freekeen.com. In fact, I wanted to have you on today because I saw one of the most amazing videos I've seen in a long time featuring peaceful resistance. I thought you handled it so well. I thought we would go through the video together and maybe comment on it. For those who aren't familiar, would you just recap briefly what is Robin Hooding?
Well, Robin Hooding is an activity I engage in just about daily in Keene, New Hampshire. And it's when you go out with some change in your pocket and try and prevent the issuance of parking tickets, which are issued if people just forget to or don't have change with them to fill their parking meter. And fortunately, here in Keene, there's plenty of parking meters, not many kiosks or other such devices that would make it more difficult. And it makes that activity very effective. And while you're doing that, you can get many other great sorts of expressive activism in, such as chalking while you're out filling meters.
So now Ian Freeman blogged at freekeen.com the following. The latest episode in the War on Chalk series focuses on the last remaining chalk warrior, Matthew Boston Strong Schmidt, as he struggles to keep the oppression of free speech going. Longtime viewers may recall the beginning of the War on Chalk in May of 2014, when some local busybodies calling themselves Stop Free Keene decided to decimate the free expression of the peaceful chalkers in Central Square, of which you are one, right, Garrett?
Sure. There's many people that chalk here in Keene, some of them associated with Free Keene, some not.
Okay. And the freedom-loving chalkers continued unabated, their ranks bolstered over time by local families and international alliance in the form of some European college girls. While the war raged on throughout the summer, the later summer lack of news coverage regarding the chalking conflict didn't mean it had died down. Indeed, it continues to this day. Is that true?
Sure, yeah. There's chalk. Well, I mean, it was kind of snowy today. It's been kind of rainy the past 2 days, but 3-4 days ago, I believe there was chalk being laid out there.
Well, however, Ian writes, there is only one man who continues his fight against freedom of expression, the Chalk Warrior. This is his story.
Is liberty dying where you live? Escape to Keene.
Okay, and so this is the video that Ian put together and posted to the internet 3 days ago. He writes that in May of 2014, members of local hate group Stop Free Keene set out to destroy peaceful chalkings. Tired of free expressions of local adults and children, the several members attacked with water and brooms. Now, who are some of these people that we're looking at? You may recognize some of them, right, Garrett?
Yeah, sure. This was one of the first collective events of Stop Free Keene to suppress chalkings while people were chalking. These are the Georginas. They're a local family that ties to bureaucrats and business owners in Keene.
There you are, local artists not deterred, continuing to chalk despite the water war that wages in Central Square.
And this was an instance in which many European visitors came and joined in the chalking, filling up the square. But as far as what goes on consistently, there's only one person I've seen who's been really good about being out there and removing that chalk, standing up for Stop Free Keene. And that's the man we see on the screen here, Matt Schmidt, Boston Strong.
Okay. Now, he's my neighbor, full disclosure. He lives about three doors down from me.
I'll join him in his civil disobedience.
As we see, it begins with him walking not through the crosswalk, but through the middle of the traffic.
Obstructing traffic to walk into the square.
Now,
I'll join him in his civil disobedience.
I like how you put that. I'll join him in his
Maybe
civil
we'll both
disobedience.
get a disorderly charge out of this video.
What was your idea with the choice of language there? Just like right off the bat, help us set the scene. First of all, why is the camera such low quality? What camera are you using?
I think I was trying out a cell phone right there. So
okay. It's not your typical, like, you shoot in HD every day. So why?
I think this particular segment jumps back and forth between high def camera that I'm wearing and cell phone camera that I'm carrying.
Got it.
And I was trying out the smartphone that I had just gotten and seeing how it worked.
The video's fine. It's okay. It's just not what I'm used to in terms of quality. How'd it work for you?
It worked well as far as a mobile device on the go. I mean, I'd still rather stick with one of my HD cams.
Yeah. Okay. And you say I'll join you in your act of civil disobedience. What's your intention in communicating that to him?
Sure. Well, I would assume that Boston Strong Matt considers himself to be doing some sort of activism, or at least some sort of positive action for what he considers to be good, removing this chalk. And I know one of the major complaints against Free Keene or activism in this area is that these people that engage in this activism are reckless. They disrupt things. They block traffic. In fact, Ian Freeman had intentionally blocked a police car, blocked traffic in Central Square as a form of civil disobedience many years ago. And many people criticize that. So when to see people who are opposed to what you'd expect to be that sort of behavior engaging in it, actively obstructing traffic themselves, I think it might be an entitlement mentality for Mr. Schmidt, that he feels that he's doing something where he has the right to block traffic, or he has the right to not walk through the crosswalk.
Yeah, because he's doing something good, right? He has the authority of the state on his side.
Yeah, presumably they used to let his group Stop Free Keene use the water in Central Square to clean up the chalkings, but I think when they were somewhat rude to people and somewhat assaultive with the water, spraying near people, dumping water near people, almost on people, the city took that privilege away.
Now, was he doing that this day? Was he pouring chalk on you?
No, this day he didn't make any sort of physical contact with me. He wasn't pouring water so close to me as to get it on me. In fact, he wasn't really pouring water at all. He had like a little mop, and he was soaking. He had a bucket that he would drop the mop into to wet it, and then he would scrub the chalkings very quickly.
All right, so let's take a look. This is what he's doing this day, and you're following him around.
It's illegal to cross the street like that. Oh no, not the Pro Dolphin! Anybody but Pro
dolphin. It was sad that it was killed.
Oh man, how can he feel good about doing that?
Do you know that every year dolphins are innocently slaughtered when they're caught in tuna nets? Do you not care about the plight of the poor dolphins?
What's going through your mind?
All you want to do is censor the truth about the dolphins.
You know,
Dolphins
myself
have
and my
rights
friend
too.
Manic, we'd always do chalkings with the idea that how are they going to want to get rid of this? This
Do
is
you have
awesome.
respect for any marine life?
So smiley faces, peace signs, dolphins. It's like, is there anything that they won't destroy?
Yeah, so you're trying to go for like comedic effect of trying to come up with a chalk drawing that
So Matt, I was wondering
just
if you
no
could
one
read my
could
article
oppose.
about you and Cantwell's interaction, what you thought of it. Because I was critiquing how poorly both of you acted, and I think that I made some legitimate critiques, and I was wondering if you had any
my
comments on
dialogue
that.
here is in reference to an article I posted on Free Keene about.
Do you think it's
Mr.
wrong
Schmidt's
to yell at
interaction
people for
with
no reason?
Chris
Because I think it
Cantwell,
is.
one
I
of
think
his
it's very
neighbors.
rude and disrespectful.
And had he responded to you at all, or communicated in any nonverbal way,
You
maybe?
sure like obstructing traffic?
2 instances right before he
walking in
leaves
the
in his
road,
car, when he takes off and
not
almost
using the
causes an accident
crosswalks.
here, and then right before he leaves later on in his
Sure,
car
everyone's happy
after
with
coming back to
having
remove some
you-
more chalking.
Cross the road to obstruct them. So that's Matthew Schmidt. He lives on River Street, about 2 or 3 houses north of the River and Leverett intersection.
So what's the point of talking about his address? Why
And
do you do
he
that?
is a hater. He despises
Well, one thing is
Chuck
that the
Dolphins.
Stop Free Keene to collectivize, but many of them are to when I was living in this neighborhood, my home address, the home addresses of others.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a good full disclosure thing if people are going to do sorts of public acts that, it be known. And also because he causes such a disruption in the neighborhood. Like, you know where his house is because that's the guy who screams at everybody. So in that sense, I think it's good to have a frame of reference like, oh, that guy, the cranky guy. You know?
Well, he almost causes an accident up here, and you video record. He also pulls a fast one on you. Don't want to give anything away. We'll have that when we return. This is Peace News. We'll take your calls, 443-424-8347, or Skype us, Peace News Now.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
For ages, scientists have associated the Earth's cosmic location with a wide spectrum of interstellar phenomena. But a study from the International Astronomical Union says that not only is the Earth far from the most interesting part of the cosmos, but is in fact located in the lamest, least awesome part of the universe.
We're billions of light years away from any supermassive black holes, interstellar explosions, or really anything even moderately cool. Our nebula just sucks so hard in comparison to some of the things out there.
Not only is the planet Earth and its solar system, quote, basically the most boring region of the entire universe, but a number of irregularly shaped galaxies illuminated in the Hubble Ultra Deep Field prove to be infinitely cooler than any of the weak-ass, boring-as phenomena occurring in the Milky Way.
I mean, there's a black hole out there that weighs 21 billion solar masses, and it's 336 million light years away. Our black hole? It couldn't tear a mid-sized star apart. We're the cosmic equivalent of a cul-de-sac.
This is the Onion News Network.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.lrn.fm. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit the Liberty Radio Network when you shop at Amazon via shop.lrn.fm.
Nothing compares to a good cup of coffee. But if you're getting your coffee from the store, you're likely not getting a good cup of coffee. Free Talk Live's teamed up with BuzzBox to bring you a free pound of the best coffee, shade-grown, organic, top 1% grade Arabica. But what's different is that for every 10 people that get coffee through our link, coffee.freetalklive.com, we can give another microloan through Kiva. When the loan's paid, we lend the money again. Help others, one cup at a time, coffee.freetalklive.com.
Did you know that you can listen to LRN.FM 24/7 via our free-to-air satellite channel? From Mexico to Canada, our signal covers nearly all of North America. All you need is a view of the southern sky, an affordable receiver, and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you're a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage map and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 70% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is Peace News. We're live in Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world. Now, Garrett, you produce some Liberty Media, not just through Freeman TV Raw, which is the source of the video we're watching today, but also at your own YouTube channel, freeconcord.org.
Free Concord TV is one of my YouTube channels, as well as Aquakeen. And in fact, this video is an abbreviated version of an episode of my local access series called AKPF #1. The original episode, it's 29 minutes long. It's called Dolphin Strong.
Dolphin Strong, and so people can look that up. What's your YouTube channel? AKPF.
YouTube.com/Aquakeen.
Aquakeen. Okay, cool. I'll try and put that up on the page there. Does it have an auto video that plays? When
I don't believe so. I think it's just the most recent videos. Some of them are short little segments, like a recent one that was created with the AKPF frustrated and malfunctioning meter. It's a humorous video. And then there's also 29-minute episodes of the series AKPF #1 available on that channel.
Okay, cool. And just because it says they're #1 doesn't mean it's episode #1. That's the name of the show.
Correct. AKPF #1 is the show.
Okay, very cool. And here's Double Dolphin, Dog Bay, Dolphin Strong. This is where we'll see. This comes from a month ago. Okay, so but Ian just got around to making this video, which we returned. So let's see. Boston Strong is about to almost cause an accident, which you capture on video.
Smiley faces, hearts, anything like that. I interpret your silence as shame.
I thought that was funny.
And I think the reason you yell at people is because you were yelled at as a child.
I think that's true.
And it wasn't right what other people did to you.
I interpret your speech as blame. Awesome hair. Can you tell me how to get to that?
It's right at the end of the
Awesome.
road.
So right after Boston Strong tries to insult you or return insult, because you sort of got one in on him, right? You weren't like insulting, but you were speaking loudly your thoughts about his poor upbringing and the fact that he uses violence, probably because he had violence used against him as a child.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I call it violence, but he uses an aggressive tone, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I usually don't speculate in that way, but this is someone who I feel like a little bit of a wall has been put up. I've tried communicating with him on a number of occasions, and it's always been just the silence returned to me. Sometimes he's yelled at me from across the street, like, stop chalking or defacing property and things like that. And it just makes me a little sad to see somebody who's so angry all the time about something that's so petty.
So some people would say, like, why bother? He's not a government agent. He's not the enemy. Why focus on him?
He wants to destroy my chalkings, though. I mean, that's not cool. I don't like that. I wish that he would express himself in some other way as opposed to trying to destroy other people's expressions.
Is this still happening? I mean, this video came out a month ago. Is he still destroying chalkings?
About a week. I haven't seen
It's
any
winter
removed recently.
There's like snow on the ground.
There's only
so-
every few days you can get some spots in, but
Okay.
I haven't seen him in the past maybe 2 weeks. I know there's been some other issues with his family that may have been attracting his attention more so than those pesky kids chalking on the square.
Is this bigger than just chalking? Is this about ideas? Is this a personal thing? To a lot of people who hear this for the first time, they're like, "What the heck? Who cares about chalking?"
This is about more than chalking, sure.
What is it?
I mean, I can't speak for someone who is always silent around me, but there's got to be a lot going on in his head as far as like, I think it's a generational thing. This idea that there are people out expressing themselves. When I was a kid, I'm sure he was thinking, I never saw people chalking their ideas on the square.
Yeah.
Some people think like chalk is for children. How dare those adults pick up the chalk and express themselves too? And I think like I'm not gonna say like he's a conservative and he thinks we're liberal or vice versa, but I'm sure it is that sort of mentality, that thought process of these people are doing something that I don't consider normal, and it's my job to bring everyone back to normal by washing away this deviance.
Yeah. Do you think he's sort of metaphorically cleaning up the neighborhood? Because he's physically, literally cleaning up the neighborhood in his opinion, but maybe he's also metaphorically thinks he can wash you away or wash this idea away.
I think the thought is that they're washing away the legitimacy of the activist or the artist when they wash away the chalking. I mean, it's like if you take someone's painting off the wall and like, burn it or something, what does it say about your appreciation or respect for their art? So in the same sense, if you see something on the sidewalk you don't like, I've seen many times my chalkings have been modified. Like I'll chalk something and someone will add to it or subtract to it, especially satirical ones. Like when I did Ban All the Pumpkins, some people were writing "don't" right before "ban all the pumpkins."
Okay, that's funny. Well, so I want to return to the video because there is more and it does get very exciting. But well, why don't we just do that? I'll leave my questions for the end. I have a million questions about this, but let's
on the left.
So a man
Somebody
just
has
asked for
pulled up and
directions,
asked for
right?
directions, yeah. So the road is blocked in front of Matt. He should really wait for this person to move on, as they are.
Whoa!
You see that other car started
Nearly
moving
caused
before
an
his.
accident.
Yeah.
You see that? He just nearly caused an accident. He killed the dolphin.
He killed the dolphin?
The dolphin's dead.
Yeah, so here you are reporting on the deceased dolphin. Now,
let's see what it is that this man's erasing.
Now, he came back later?
Yes.
Okay.
I had put down these, as you see, new chalk smileys, and he's now back to remove them. And this is the HD cam. It's a little bit nicer.
Yeah, I see that. So here he is with a brush on a stick and a bucket of water and a scowl, and he is angrily
Manning is a
removing that
hero.
chalk.
Chelsea Manning is one of the few veterans I have any respect for, because Chelsea Manning stands up for the truth.
That it's unsafe to bottle noses.
All this unchecked aggression
dolphin.
against the dolphins. What did a dolphin ever do to you?
There's no aggression towards the dolphins.
There goes the smiley face.
And he's removing smiley faces. You know, one of the weird things that occurred to me while watching this video the first time was that there are all these leaves on the ground. Like, why isn't he raking?
Sure.
You know,
no sort of response to me
how are the
indicates your lack of intellectual depth.
Hmm.
I thought it was funny on the Stop Free Keene page, one of the responses that people had to my article was, he uses a lot of big words.
Speaking
And
about
it sounds
you.
like the lesser educated, the more barbarian, lesser civilized individuals are interested in censoring free speech.
All right. So you're sort of, I don't know what the word is. You're throwing it down is the expression. You're not being violent. You're not provoking any sort of attack, but you're insinuating that because he's silent, he's stupid, and that because the people on the Stop Free Keene forum or Facebook page have said that you use big words, that they lack intelligence. So what are you trying to get at here? Are you trying to provoke him to speak?
There's a history here of a misinterpretation of, I'd say, my words and the words of others. Like, I referred to some of the comments and the sentiments of the Stop Free Keene page previously as being xenophobic. And there was like 2 or 3 people that said, he's calling us racist. Like, they had no idea that there was a distinction between xenophobia and racism.
Right.
And I mean, Matthew didn't do that specifically. I can't say that I've gotten much feedback from him one way or another. I can't really tell what he's thinking, but he's one of the most active. Like, he's the one that's acting the most as far as the Stop Free Keene goes. There's all this bad rhetoric that other people are engaging in, and then there's all this little sort of weird amount of action that, you know, you can point to Boston and a few others for engaging in.
Well, there's a lot of people who chalk messages on the sidewalk, but no one who's been doing it as consistently as you have, and it's really caused a lot of controversy. As we're about to see in the video, it gets kind of ugly. We'll be right back. This is Peace News.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's the movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippie! On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
Available now at gunsandweed.com or
I noted this article said the war on chalk began this year, but really, like, that was the first video I ever did was the war on chalk.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Well, I guess we'll save that for when we come back. We got 3 minutes.
Networking organization? At FreeAid, we support volunteers who provide first aid. We do outreach to the public about health and safety, and we bring together medically skilled freedom lovers. FreeAid is made possible by your generous support. Donors can receive great gifts like first aid kits, t-shirts, silver dime cards, and hoodies. The FreeAid Silver Dime Card Project is sponsored in part by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage, Freedom's Phoenix, and Don't Tread on Meme. Visit fr33aid.com.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too, you know.
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, City.
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. Saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but Free Enterprise built this company. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
Besides, we just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats and the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
Welcome back to the show. You can join us live at peacenewsnow.com/live. There's a chat room there. There's also a YouTube video where we are broadcasting from Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world. Now, we're speaking with Garrett Ian of freeconcord.org and freekeene.com and Aqua Keene YouTube channel. And what other media do you have put out there right now? You're doing a show. You're also on Black Sheep Rising.
Sure, occasional guest on Black Sheep Rising. AKPF #1, my television show, is probably what I put most of my work into each week.
Okay. And this video that we're watching now comes from a clip from that show that you produce. This is just a 10-minute clip from a 30-minute episode, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, and what we're seeing is the return of Matt Boston Strong Schmidt to Keene Central Square, sort of a stage for liberty activism for the last 10 years or so. You were telling me during the break about your first a video recording of a chalking in New Hampshire. And so will you tell us a little bit of background here?
Sure. The first time I ever picked up a video camera, went out and filmed a liberty-related event in New Hampshire, I should say. I've been to Washington a few times with a camera before that. It was in front of a federal courthouse, and there was just a pro-peace, anti-federal government protest/rally that was happening there. And my friend Kat Canning, unfortunately, was arrested for chalking, not on the sidewalk, but on the walkway that leads right up to the federal building. So sort of like the sidewalk on the property of the Fed compound. And so after they arrested her, another one of my friends, Emperor Evan, chalked "Free Cat." And they came out and arrested him as well. And it was a very dramatic video because he was still chalking as they're trying to drag him away. They're wrenching his arm behind his back, and he's still continuing to chalk as they're pulling him away. But unfortunately, those videos, this was way before the Glick decision. My video, another activist, Jason Talley, shot video, another activist, Biker Bill, shot video. Mine and Biker Bill's videos were yanked off of YouTube shortly thereafter. I re-uploaded it with a little bit of editing and censorship, and I think I put the originals on Blip, which I don't think even exists anymore. But yeah, it was one thing that's really kept me going and kept me passionate about chalking is that very first experience, one of my first activism memories, being chalking being something that was legal in some areas but not others. It has this sort of appeal to it in that sometimes it's totally okay, and then other times it'll really cause a ruckus, like with the Chalking 8 incident. I was arrested in Manchester with 7 other people related to chalking, and I was the only one that was found not guilty. And so, yeah, chalking is it's such a wonderful, expressive way to express yourself as opposed to a sign or something else that requires your labor.
Well, it's definitely peaceful. The message stays there. It can be washed away by something as simple as rain. So it's something that I would think most people wouldn't be offended by. Then again, Keene City Council had one member propose a ban on chalk. Like, seriously, banning chalk throughout the whole town.
Mm-hmm.
Were you present for that meeting?
Sure, I was. There was many people that showed up to express their concerns about chalk and everything.
And was it because of stuff like this, the violence that sometimes results from
There was some
chalking?
allegations that there had been some sort of racist, whether or not there was a swastika chalked. There was allegations that may have happened at some point. And then there was also one of the turning points was a penis being drawn on the sidewalk.
Oh, we can't have that. Oh
Yes,
my
many
God.
people were up in arms after a penis was drawn.
Okay.
And there were renewed calls for bans then, but nothing ever came of it, of course, because of the constitutional protections. I think the city councilors knew better.
All right, very good. Were you drawing any swastikas or penises?
I do not advocate people draw swastikas. I mean, if they want to draw penises, that's fine. At least it's a bodily organ. But, you know, sort of the political things that are offensive, yeah, not really into that.
All right, let's return to the video. This is Boston Strong. We're about halfway through. Chalk Warrior has returned to Central Square. And he's got his bucket of water and his brush, and he's removing these smiley faces.
What do your parents think of this? I can't imagine you call mom or dad and say, "Hey, mom, dad, there were these kids downtown chalking today. I washed up their chalk."
It's hard to tell in the video, but I've just sat upon
this one.
A smiley face at the edge of the square. He walked away.
So that's interesting. You sat on the space where the smiley face was drawn, and he ignores that. He goes away. He doesn't splash any water where you're sitting or anything. He just...
You have nothing to express because it's like you're trying to fill a black hole in your heart. There's nothing to fill it with.
Now, why do you do that? Why do you make it all personal like that? Tell me, as a black hole in his heart.
Do you feel better with each chalking that you remove?
Well, I've thought a lot about this.
Expressed something or taught something to the world?
And like, what could he possibly be getting from this? Like, it can't really be making him feel better.
Yeah, you think he's trying to fill a black hole in his heart with all this removing? I think he'd be doing better to rake. I mean, I would like to see.
I would really
people aren't
appreciate it.
educated. Why aren't you trying to educate them in some way, rather than just trying to destroy what other people have made?
All right. So it appears he's walking away. He's defeated.
But
you've been video recording him.
Something better.
There's one smiley still left.
It's about something you don't like and trying to get rid of it. Just think about building something or growing something rather than destroying things.
That's a great recommendation. Now he's
You
not
don't even
talking
have
to
a
you though,
message
right?
for the world. All you have
No,
is
it's not
removal of messages that exist.
Is he a question from the chat?
Volumes, but is that what you want your life to mean?
Is he an ex-Marine?
I don't know. I would suspect some sort of military background just based on his demeanor. It seems like a very militant
Wipe that
demeanor.
smile off that sidewalk.
Oh, this is something.
I mean,
yeah.
it's like, I don't know. I can't even measure the depth of the silliness of this.
Yeah, it is insane at this point. It's gotten crazy. Now, would he respond the
At
same
some
way?
point, you'll stop caring about this and start caring about things that matter.
Now, when you said wipe that smile off that sidewalk, do you think he was sort of like, well, now I don't want to because he just told me to? Would the what's it called, reverse psychology work in this scenario?
Sure, it's possible. Like if I did chalkings that said ban chalk, would you want to remove them?
Oh, and you know where he's
I knew
headed.
where he was headed, so I had to run around.
Because you protected that one smiley face that one time. You thought he was there to finish the job. Okay, so here he comes towards you, but he's not there for the smiley face. You're going to sit on it. which is all right. What an interesting camera angle too, as you're down on the ground and he's up above you as he walks by.
It's a very powerless angle. Like someone's
it's very
Getting
intimidating.
more chalk on me, so preserving that one little bit of bright light and bright color in Keene today shall be my prerogative until 5.
Why?
If there were any more over there.
Why waste your time? So that's what people are going to say. Is this is a total waste of time?
Well, I was out Robin Hooding anyway. That's why I said till 5.
Oh, okay. I see. All right. So he's taking a seat. He's tired. He's done.
So at
He's
this
going
point,
on
I
his
figured
phone.
he seemed like he was chilling. I figured I'd go chill across the bench across from him. I was hoping maybe at some point we just start, talking casually and maybe just ignore the chalkings and move on to something else. But he's getting ready. He's got an idea.
Whoa!
There he goes.
And now he's running. You're chasing
booking
him.
it, and he is. I got to tell you, there's not many people that can outrun me. He was running fast.
Yeah, you are a fast runner. We have run before together.
I gotta
and
hand
you're
it to
very
you.
fast.
That was some quick thinking.
So why do you congratulate him?
You're faster than I thought.
It was a good physical feat. I mean, like I said, not many people could outrun me.
What's going through your head right now? He starts recording you.
I mean, it's like you.
I
you
was
beat- all right, you
overjoyed
beat
to
me
see
there.
more
I gotta hand
recording.
it to you. Had I known we were having a race, if you said like 1, 2, 3, go, I think I would have had it.
And I stand by that.
You got me this time, but I think next time, to be fair, call it out, and we'll do it legit. Like we'll be ready. 1, 2, 3, go. And I'm telling you, if we do it legit, I'm totally on it. I would totally be the winner. So that
And
was
he
fun,
walks
dude. That
away.
was fun.
He has defeated you. The Chalk Warrior has won. Well, I don't know. What do you think, Garrett?
He got all the chalks. I was out for that day. I mean, that's one battle, but the chalk war continues.
Is there anything more to this video that we should watch? There's more that I need to ask you, and more to discuss, but is there more to this video?
Well, when he pulls out later, it's a lot more safe, and he says that the camera is the reason that he was driving unsafely earlier. You're the reason you were distracting me or something.
All right, Robin Hood of Keene is here.
On LRN.FM, we talk a lot about alternative currencies. Did you know that now you can buy gold, silver, and other precious metals with Bitcoins? LRN.FM has partnered with Amaji Metals to bring you great prices on beautiful .999 fine silver, as well as gold, platinum, and other metals. Check out their selection and pay with Bitcoins or Federal Reserve notes at metal.lrn.fm. That's metal.lrn.fm.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country.
Yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market, making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
Hey, Dalek, how you doing?
I am doing amazing. It's been a long time since I talked to you, my friend.
Yeah, long time no hear from. So you sound great, by the way. What kind of microphone are you using?
I am using a Logitech like a 348. I might be grading just a little bit, but I don't know yet.
What is that? What's gregging?
You know how you break up a little bit?
Oh, yeah, that's called gregging.
Yeah, that's what most people like around my kind of where I,
Cool
like
people.
around my group calls it.
That's what cool people call it. Got it.
No, but is oh gosh, I forgot Josh, or I don't really remember.
Well, I'm going to add Nathan to this call, okay? And we're going to have you, Nathan in Texas, who I think is already on the line with us. Nathan?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
We got you and Dalek on at the same time. I'm going to have Dalek ask his question first, and then we'll go to Nathan. Sound good? And then I'll kick you both off at the same time at the end of the hour.
All right.
Does it affect the call if I hang up as opposed to calling in?
No, it shouldn't make a difference. I just felt like it would be
Okay.
easier for me to do this way.
Oh yeah, because I didn't know if you had other issues with the Linux computer or whatever.
Oh, no. That's only for Cop Block Radio because Dio does not connect through LRN. He connects through Skype. So it does sort of complicate things when one of your co-hosts is using the line that you use to take calls. So anyway, we'll get it worked out. We're coming back in 5, 4.
I'm Holland Cook. While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
Welcome back. It is the bottom of the hour. I don't know what this whole segment is called. It's the last segment in the first hour, and we're joined by Garrett Ian. We're about to lose him, so if you've got questions, ask them now. You can call in 443-424-8347 or send a Skype contact request to Peace News Now. We just finished up what I think is the important parts of this video, featured at Free Keen's YouTube channel, produced by Ian Freeman of freekeen.com, featuring a neighbor of ours, Boston Strong, destroying chalk drawings in Keen's Central Square and downtown area. You are the producer of some of these chalk drawings, which feature smiley faces, dolphins, messages about peace activists like Chelsea Manning, and other ideas. And he destroys them. That's the idea. Now he just got one over on you by faking you out, running over to a smiley face, and destroying it. I want to get your initial responses to that. But first, we've got callers on the line who have questions for you. So, Dalek, where are you calling from, and what's your question for Garrett?
Okay, so I'm in the northwest of Colorado. Beautiful place. Right at this very moment, I'm eating dinner. But my question is to Garrett is what's like the most scariest experience that you ever had within your whole career of activism?
Great question.
Is a good question.
Because you've been through a lot. You've got a lot of scary experiences. Do you have like a demo reel of scary experiences?
I'd say the scariest experience I've ever had was not activism related. It was just cops screaming at me, trying to get me to say that this bowl that they found was mine. Scary activism stories. The night, June 2nd in Central Square, when there was some violence that broke out and someone was attacked by a group, and there was just a big ruckus, and it seemed like anything could have popped off at that moment. That was probably the scariest, and that was related to chalking as well. Somebody was offended by chalkings and then heckling that they received from one of the locals who was chalking there, and it kicked off this ridiculous melee, and Rich Paul got thrown in jail because of it, even though he was found not guilty of the charge they arrested him over because of it. I think there's still, I think there still may be criminal charges pending from KPD for some of the actors involved in that. So that was probably the scariest experience. As someone who tries to de-escalate things as much as possible, I mean, some people would say maybe I was agitating Mr. Schmidt a little bit, but if I got the impression that he was, intent on using violence or anything, I definitely would have changed my approach there.
Well, that's pretty good. And now this is another part of the question. How was your experience with the Pumpkin Ride Fest, like the pumpkin rides and stuff?
That was somewhat unsettling. However, I must say that as far as riots go, I've never been in one before, and I don't really plan on attending anymore unless they spring up. But that was really a very relaxed version of a riot. I mean, that was a bunch of drunken college students. That wasn't a lot of angry people trying to, destroy things intentionally. It was just, idiots ripping up signs and throwing bottles. So there was the fear there that I may get hit with a bottle, and also that if someone were to have thrown a bottle, that I may get hit with, those rubber bullets and everything the police were firing. But that was less of there's an instant like fear situation. That was more of just a confusion and tension and sort of, yeah, the riot wasn't really as bad as even it seems from looking at the video, thinking about it.
We got a person in the chat who asks, "You're not a troublemaker, are you, Garrett?"
I like to think of myself as one of the de-escalators when things go bad, and I would say point to that June 2nd incident where there ended up being a fight kicking off. I tried to prevent violence there by just calming everyone down, telling people, calm down, just back away. Other instances, even with the riots during the day, at night I was silent. I was just a camera at night. But during the day, I was yelling for people to not throw things and trying to be, I wouldn't really say an authority on the scene. But when you have a camera, people notice you. I was surprised as the people at night that they'd see somebody with a camera and then be like, oh, walk in front of it and throw a bottle at the police. And it's almost like there was no fear there of really being caught. I guess maybe later in the evening there were some chants of F the press and people were agitated with Chris Cantwell filming them. Maybe because he's a little older, maybe because he didn't seem to be of their peer group, that they were more concerned with that someone might be a cop or whatever.
Right. And so what I've put on screen is the Chalk War Chronicles 3 of 15. And I believe this is the one that you're referring to, where you try and de-escalate the situation that's happening.
This is after the violence had occurred. These people are talking about what had just happened. A camera of mine had just gotten stolen that was in Rich Paul's possession.
So maybe it was a little bit before. Is this where you're?
This was right after they had.
Okay, so this is a man walking towards you, threatening to take your video camera. And that's exactly what happened.
Yes, he took someone else's video camera that belonged to me. Now, similar to Matt Schmidt, this man's standing in the road, obstructing traffic.
And so he's threatening to do bad things to you and the people over there.
Others, yeah.
And what are you doing at this point? You're simply
I'm
recording.
silently filming.
Now he takes off his backpack and throws it to his friend.
Now there's three men approaching the square rather briskly, and at this time someone's running up behind another character and is about to punch him in the head. That was right
that's
there.
what just happened there. Okay.
Stop it! Leave him alone.
And then he takes a fighting stance.
Yep, and he's saying, "Come on!" He's egging the guy,
and
then somebody else
Michael
attacks
Phillips.
him. Yes, it is.
Oh wow!
And then this large Hispanic man, began punching him as well.
Everybody, just back away. Calm down.
Okay, and there you are saying, "Everyone, back away. Calm down." Why'd you do that?
Because it seemed as though someone was about to get seriously injured. Rich Paul had a monopod that he was using. He was about to use it in a defensive manner. He actually he did not intervene as far as when that man started swinging at Andy, also known as Screw the Cat, the man that was attacked. He had two people running at him saying, "What are you going to do with that stick?" And he backed away and his stuff got stolen. Somebody would have been justified in going in and clocking that guy for just starting to punch someone for no reason.
But
I'm glad that didn't. I'm glad, it didn't happen. That for some reason the man decided to just stop attacking that person and walk away.
Is there more de-escalation here?
I advise one of the people who continues heckling not to keep heckling them, not to egg the situation on after they leave.
Okay.
There's a female who's pushing away. I believe it's her boyfriend who's like saying, "What are you going to do with that stick? Go ahead and swing it." And she's
now
moving him from the situation.
Is this one of those instances where simply having video changes the situation? Do you think that your presence there as an observer had a positive effect?
I think it sparked it, and it also de-escalated it. The darker man who attacked, who didn't actually attack, but who made all of those initial threats and then ran in with the group that attacked. That man seemed to be attacked because of the camera. He was threatening someone. I caught that threat on camera, and I was silently standing there. And then when he realized he was on camera, that's when he kind of turned and was like, "Hey, I see a camera. I'll take that camera."
Now, we're also joined by Nathan in Texas, who visits via Skype. Nathan, you have a question for Garrett. Go ahead.
Yes, first of all, I had trouble loading the video, so I just wanted to ask real quick, is Boston Strong the same guy who was in that other video following you around and saying, get a job, like over and over?
Yes.
If you think there's one case with a really old guy who's like kind of overweight with a beard who was telling me I need a job. Okay, that's a different person. That man's name is George Parkhurst. Mr. Schmidt does say get a job a lot, but that's usually all he'll say, and then he'll move on.
It's kind of his shtick.
Yeah, he usually drive by and say it, or
He drives by this studio and honks his horn and says, get a job.
Right.
While we're broadcasting.
But that's what I was curious about, because it strikes me as interesting that that's what he'll say, and then he won't talk to you. You were saying in the video he wouldn't speak to you while he was scrubbing the chalk clean, and that's kind of weird behavior. But I have known people in my life before who kind of behave that way, like they would like give you the silent treatment, and I was wondering what do you think that is? Is he trying to, like, I don't know, look better than you on the video, or does he just, like, he doesn't want to admit that he hates smiles and sunshine? I mean, what is it?
I believe there's a mentality that if you're not saying anything, that you're not saying anything wrong. And that's true, but if you're trying to express something, you need to give content to what you're expressing. You need to give substance to it. But he's not really trying to express anything, so I get that. But I agree that silence is strange. Like, I feel weird. Like, if somebody was trying to talk to me, I would just feel like I was dehumanizing them by not responding. Like, it's just a very human thing.
Yeah,
like, if you can't communicate,
it can be like a bullying. It can be a bullying tactic in some situations.
Sure. And yeah, I'm very much opposed to the idea of ignoring people flat out. It's just, I find it rude. I don't know. Unless of course you feel and you don't owe someone a response. But in this case, I'm just trying to have dialogue.
Thanks for calling in, Nathan. You can call in and share your thoughts, 443-424-8347, or send a Skype contact request to Peace News Now. I want to thank Garrett Ian, who's been my guest, freeconcord.org.
Hey, it's Cody O'Connor from Off the Air Live.
Thanks, Garrett. Yeah. And Nathan, did you have any other questions before we go officially?
No, I wasn't sure if this was good for during the segment or not. At any rate, I didn't get a chance to jump in. But I was going to say that the person in my life who kind of acted like that, it was during a tense moment where, like, we had a disagreement about whether voting was, a good thing or not. And instead of arguing with me, he just kind of, stayed silent, like a silent rage, and then walked away, kind of. And I felt in that moment like it was kind of like a bullying tactic, because it's like saying, if you disagree with me, I'm just going to withhold all of my goodness and emotions from you or something. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I hear that. I do. I get that. Well, I appreciate you sharing those thoughts, Nathan, and I appreciate you calling in.
Cool. And one more thing real quick, if a moment.
I think Garrett, I think you have to go, but if you're welcome to stay if you want, Garrett.
I was going to tell you that I actually met the government in my kitchen tonight when I was cooking that chicken.
What?
The USDA used to give a guideline of 180 degrees, and that's what a friend of mine told me was the guideline, and they didn't know that the USDA had changed that guideline to 165 degrees.
So you met the government in your kitchen in this way?
In the sense that I got I thought it was 180 degrees, but when I looked up the internet, I saw the government had changed its own figure.
Oh, good.
To what
well,
you're supposed to cook a chicken
the government
to.
always knows what's best, even if that is changing. Hey,
exactly.
Thanks so much for being on, Garrett. I appreciate it, and I'll see you again soon. Good luck. Do you have any trials coming up? You just won your trial, right? You just won the trial against Bradford. He's going on trial for attacking you. But you were on trial for him. He said you were stalking him, but you weren't. And the government agreed.
And the funny thing was at that hearing, I started bringing out details of his assault on me. He was like, wait, this is pending in court. And the judge was like, you called this hearing.
Wow. That's amazing. All right. Very cool. Yeah, I'll love to get the details on that soon. Good night.
Okay, so have a great time. Have a great, awesome.
Who's still with us?
This is really awesome.
Who's that? Dalek?
It's Dalek.
Hey, Dalek.
Yeah.
Good. Did you get everything? Did you get your questions answered?
Yes, I did, and thank you very much. Also, Derek, if you're, I'll always come back, and I'm sorry that I haven't really just been around the area. But
The
I'm always
area?
listening to your shows.
You mean LRN?
Yeah, I'm always listening to your shows and stuff. So
Cool, man. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to get back to it.
All right.
Cheers.
Peace.
Because even he didn't suggest there would be a serious chance for policy changes. One of the only senators pushing for reforms was Senator Jay Rockefeller from West Virginia, but he's retiring at the end of the month. The White House, however, is insisting changes are possible, but, quote, they may not be the kind of changes we can announce. Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, financial cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com. Reuters reports Hong Kong authorities prepared on Thursday to clear part of the city's main pro-democracy protest site that has choked roads leading to the most economically and politically important district for more than 2 months over calls for free elections. The mainly peaceful protests have represented the most serious challenge to China's authorities since the 1989 pro-democracy demonstrations and bloody crackdown in and around Beijing's Tiananmen Square. Hundreds of police arrived in the Admiralty District next to the government building early on Thursday to help enforce an injunctive order against street barricades erected by protesters after a request from a Hong Kong bus company. A 20-year-old student, Lucy Tang, said, "Some of my friends are prepared to stay till the last moment, but I will walk away. I will for sure miss this place. It has become my home." A large yellow banner bearing an umbrella and the words "We'll be back" was draped in the center of the highway where protesters have camped out, with similar messages scrolled on roads and posted on tents. Next to a base of the Chinese People's Liberation Army in the heart of the city, a huge orange banner erected across the barricades said, "It's just the beginning." More than 10,000 people massed at the democracy protest site on Wednesday evening, even as authorities warned people to stay away before the final clearance. The former British colony returned to Chinese rule in 1997 under a one-country.
Hey, everyone over there on YouTube land. Stay tuned because we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Are demanding open nominations in the city's next election for chief executives in 2017. Beijing has said it will allow a vote in 2017, but only between pre-screened candidates. For over 35 years, Robertson Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and permanently removed the minimum purchase order for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Robertson Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 850-478-5270 or online at rrbi.co. CNET reports peer-to-peer file-sharing site The Pirate Bay was knocked offline Tuesday in the wake of a police raid on the company's premises in Stockholm, Sweden, and the subsequent seizure of a server and other equipment. Paula Pinter, the police national coordinator for IP enforcement, said in a statement, "There has been a crackdown on a server room in Greater Stockholm. This is in connection with violations of copyright law." The raid comes barely a month after the arrest of the website's co-founder on the Thailand-Laos border on November 3rd, and only a couple of days behind Google Play's takedown of a number of apps related to the Pirate Bay. Several other sites have also been knocked offline, including the Pirate Bay's forum, image hosting website, and their text hosting website. However, by Wednesday morning, the Pirate Bay was already back online at a Costa Rican top-level domain. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
It's the Onion Radio News. Hager physicists have created quantum slacks. This is Doyle Redland reporting. The stunning announcement that a team of Hager physicists has successfully developed quantum slacks was made this morning at a press conference in Philadelphia. According to Dr. Daniel Chang, head of the Hager team, conventional notions about the physical properties and possibilities of slacks have been turned on their heads.
We are on the verge of unzipping the secrets of creation and peering into the pants of God himself. It appears the very fabric of the universe may well be a smart cotton twill weave.
However, Chang urged caution in further research after tests conducted last month at the Hager Pants Propulsion Collider Laboratory in Dallas suggested the possible existence of so-called anti-pants, which could, in theory, initiate a chain reaction resulting in no pants at all. Doyle Redland for the Onion Radio News, online at theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Welcome back to Peace News. We're live for the second hour at LRN.FM. This Thursday, December 11th, 2014. I'm your host, Derek J. Good to be with you. You can learn about me at my website, derekj.me. We've also got a chat room and video built into the webpage at peacenewsnow.com/live. So in this hour, I want to talk about stories of peaceful resistance. In the first hour, we were talking about just one instance of peaceful resistance. That is Garrett Ian of freeconcord.org, video recording himself downtown in Keene Central Square, adding chalk drawings to spread ideas and spread cheer, and one man who made it his life's work, it seems, to eliminate those chalk drawings. And he stands alone as the last chalk warrior in Keene, Boston Strong. It's just a fascinating story unraveling there. And who will outlast the chalkers or the chalk removers? It's fascinating to watch, and I will continue reporting on it so long as there's interesting video. Now, an undercover officer outed pulls a gun on protesters in Oakland. You can bet this wouldn't happen in New Hampshire, where a cop might think twice about pulling a gun on citizens. More likely than not, they'd be armed. But not in California, where two undercover California Highway Patrol officers were confronted and outed at the Berkeley protests last night. After a brief fight, one officer pulls his gun, aiming it at people. The other is making an arrest. They have not been identified yet, other than that they are California Highway Patrol officers of the Golden Gate Division. Now, this was as reported by Revolution News just 8 hours ago, and you can see, if you're watching along on video, this undercover officer is pointing a firearm right into the camera. There's nothing secret about what these undercover officers are doing when they're pointing guns at the protesters. Certainly not what they intended, to be sure. We've got the story from boingboing.net, who reports on what's going on in that photograph. Well, undercover agent pulls gun on protesters and photographer during Oakland protests of police killings. So who is the man pointing a gun at a photographer in this photo from last night's protests in Oakland and Berkeley? And why is he aiming his weapon at photographers and protesters? Great question. Well, demonstrators and demonstrations around the country continue in response to recent high-profile police killings of unarmed black men and boys. During protests in the San Francisco Bay Area, cities of Berkeley and Oakland last night, 2 participants were identified as undercover police by the crowd. Fantastic work, by the way, group, because you know there are always going to be undercover police in huge protests like these. It's best that you identify them and point them out for others. If they're advocating violence, pretty good chance they're undercovers. They were outed by the protesters. One of the undercover cops drew his weapon. Both officers then began to arrest protesters. In the photo, one of the infiltrators or undercovers aims his loaded gun directly at Reuters photographer Noah Berger. Freelance reporter Courtney Hara has storyfied a series of eyewitness posts and protests and journalists who witnessed the undercover agent's activity, which reportedly included encouraging protesters to loot and commit other crimes before the agents were outed. Likely, that's what tipped the protesters off to the fact that maybe these guys aren't with us. Local news station KTVU also has a related report. Two officers, both dressed as civilians and wearing bandanas over their faces, were walking with the group when the demonstrators pointed at them, yelling, "Hey, they're undercover! They're cops!" Oakland Police Lieutenant Chris Bolton wrote on Twitter Thursday morning that the officer was not an Oakland police officer. Bolton said Oakland police were the first to respond to the scene on a report from another agency. Bolton wrote, quote, "That outside agency has been notified to provide details and address concerns regarding the officer's behavior at the protest." So which is it? Was it an officer or was it not? Well, one Berkeley resident, Dylan, who declined to give his last name, said he pulled off the officer's bandana. Two policemen started to walk away, but the protesters persisted, screaming at the two undercover cops. Quote, "One of the officers pushed a protester aside. The man responded by pushing back, and then the officer tackled him to the ground, handcuffing him. The crowd, incensed, began to gather around them. The second officer pulled out his gun and pointed it at the crowd. That's how you control a situation. More officers quickly arrived and dispersed the crowd." According to this tweet by Lieutenant Chris Bolton, hashtag Oakland protests, he writes, if allegation officers incited crime, crowdsource video and provide a link so I may forward. Obviously troubling. The hashtag Oakland protest pictured man isn't an OPD officer and not an OPD arrest. OPD first responded to scene on report from another agency. And then he also responds, that outside agency has been notified to provide details and address concerns to the Oakland police. Below, more images captured by Noah Berger for Reuters from his protest. The various estimates, some 250 to 300 demonstrators marched in Berkeley and Oakland last night. Their message, stop police brutality. Under cloudy skies, turnout was smaller than earlier in the week when some participants threw rocks at police and demonstrators shut down a major freeway. Here you can see a police officer holds back anti-police demonstrators as an undercover officer makes an arrest in Oakland, California. More than 100 protesters gathered for a fifth consecutive night of demonstrations. Some more photographs taken from that Reuters photographer, Noah Berger. Anti-police protester who declined to give her name marches through Oakland, California in a bandana and Ramones shirt as she displays the American flag upside down. Also, protesters rallying against police violence storm a lecture with PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel at the University of California at Berkeley campus in Berkeley, California. Why would they do that, I wonder? I mean, they're rallying against police violence. Why storm a lecture from PayPal founder Peter Thiel? What does he have to do with police violence? Not quite sure. I don't think that a lot of these protesters have their heads screwed on straight. Yeah, it's important to make sure that the police aren't hurting peaceful people, but when you start rallying against PayPal founder Peter Thiel at a university speech, I start to question your motives. So let's turn next to another troubling story. Also, not just happening in California, but around the country. This is important. Homelessness is becoming illegal. Who decided this, and what can we do about it? This a story from Now This. The agency reports that homelessness in the U.S. is on decline, but some cities are finding workarounds to make it illegal. In Hawaii, it's illegal to sit or lie on the sidewalks in Waikiki. The city gets rid of homelessness with one-way tickets to the mainland U.S. In Dallas, Texas, it's illegal to have a shopping cart anywhere away from a store, and in Houston, it's illegal to dig through trash cans. It's also illegal to feed homeless without written consent. In California, Palo Alto, it's illegal to sleep in public And in Mantesia, city randomly turns on sprinklers in parks at night. In San Francisco, Civic Center blasts construction noises into the park at night. And in Atlanta, Georgia, even asking for help, not just money, can get you detained for days. In Minneapolis, Minnesota, it's illegal to sleep in a car. In Columbia, South Carolina, there's a hotline to report homeless people downtown. And in Lake Worth, Florida, it's even worse. We've got the story about illegal homelessness, plus more stories of peaceful resistance and why liberals killed Eric Gardner. This is Peace News. We'll take your calls, 443-424-8347, or send a Skype contact request to user Peace News Now.
Are you a political activist who does things that the government might not like? Then this free ebook may save your life. Rats is your guide to protecting yourself against snitches, informers, informants, agents provocateur, narcs, finks, and similar vermin. Rats was written by OG libertarian Claire Wolfe. Rats is a short book, easy to read, and available free in many formats. Download Rats free at rats-nosnitch.com. That's rats-nosnitch.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
Did you know you can get news updates about what's happening with the Liberty Radio Network delivered in the way you prefer? You can sign up for our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. Plus, you can stay in the loop by joining our Facebook profile at facebook.lrn.fm or follow us at Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm. It's all free, so sign up now at updates.lrn.fm for news updates delivered to your email box, facebook.lrn.fm to follow our Facebook page, and twitter.lrn.fm to receive our tweets.
If you want to move to the free state and you're looking for some real estate, well, I know a guy who's really great. It's the realtor Mark Warden. Do you want a home with 20 acres, a lakeside cabin, any takers for renters, buyers, and sellers too? Mark Warden is the guy for you. PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
Attention. Have you been in a serious automobile accident? Then you need to call our attorneys now. We specialize in helping our clients get compensated for major auto injuries. If you've been in any type of car or motorcycle accident and you've been seriously injured, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation. Our attorneys have recovered millions and millions of dollars for injured clients. There are no out-of-pocket costs to you ever. We only receive a fee when we win your case. We are available 24/7. If you've been in an accident and been seriously injured, make this free call to our attorneys now. Call the Personal Injury Center at 800-648-9173. 800-648-9173. 800-648-9173. That's 800-648-9173. This ad is paid for by participating member law firms. We are not an attorney referral service. Representation may not be.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Welcome back to Peace News. I'll take your calls about peaceful resistance and any of the stories that we're sharing tonight about those peaceful resistors who have the courage to stand up to arbitrary authority and say, no, I'm not going to obey you. So we return to a list of bans, why cities around the U.S. are making it illegal to be homeless. Manassia, California. The city randomly turns on sprinklers in parks at night. And that's not all. In San Francisco, the Civic Center blasts construction noises into the park at night. In Atlanta, Georgia, even asking for help, not just money, can get you detained for days. And in Minnesota, it's illegal to sleep in a car. In Columbia, South Carolina, there's a hotline to report homeless people downtown. And in Lake Worth, Florida, it's illegal to ask for money on city property. In Fort Lauderdale, there's no outdoor storage on public property. And in Burien, Washington, ordinance outlaws disruptive smells or being stinky in public. In St. Louis, they've installed benches that are nearly impossible to sleep on. And in Denver, it's illegal to camp without a permit. The criminalization is the most expensive and least effective way to deal with homelessness.
We got to get adapted out here to make it. Treating people who are poor as subhuman.
All I'm trying to do is allow the homeless to have the same rights as everybody else.
What do you think? Do all people have rights? Well, I think this problem would be solved with private property if we lived in a world where people respect private property and there were no such thing as a state. If people just thought that that idea was silly, well, then there would be no government property where these people are sleeping on. There would be shelters, there would be churches and people's homes where they offer shelter to indigent. There's always going to be people out there who need help, need a lift in life, people who have fallen on bad times, sometimes through no fault of their own. And to them, I say private charity is the answer. For the rest of them, perhaps deregulation is the answer, taking away laws that restrict their freedoms. Well, that's happening in New Hampshire as one new freshman state rep, Amanda Bolden, hero, or shall I say heroine of mine, no pun intended, is proposing a new law that would expand the availability of a drug that reverses overdoses of, you guessed it, heroin. Here's the story from WMUR.
That's true. Right now, only licensed EMS providers can administer it in New Hampshire, and some police officers are trained as well. But this bill would allow anyone with a prescription to administer it.
It's been dubbed a wonder drug, naloxone, better known as Narcan. In as little as one dose, it can reverse the effects of a heroin overdose, allowing the patient to start breathing again.
It is a lifesaver. There's no question about that.
Chris Staywaz is a paramedic and the general manager of American Medical Response, which serves Manchester and Nashua. The number of Narcan doses they've given this year is 55% higher than last.
It says we have a problem, a significant problem that needs to be addressed.
Right now, only EMS providers and some police officers in New Hampshire can give Narcan, but a freshman lawmaker wants to change that. Representative Amanda Bolden filed a bill that would allow anyone to acquire Narcan with a prescription. She was unable to speak to us on camera, but in a statement says, "My hope is that in the future, New Hampshire residents with loved ones using heroin can carry Narcan in case of overdose. The good news is that Narcan has no negative side effects. It's a miracle treatment."
They generally will withdraw from the drug and can potentially be violent or need airway management. So those are things that need to be addressed prior to being able to have a layperson administer it.
Staywaz says the average person wouldn't have the breathing support tools medical professionals carry, and they'd have to be careful where they store Narcan. If it gets too cold, it won't be effective. But he says the bill is worth a discussion, and Representative Bolden says while this isn't the solution, addicts deserve a second chance at life, and with a combination of Narcan, increased access to addiction treatment, and regulation, we can help people move forward with their lives.
Narcan can be administered several different ways, a shot, intravenously, and most recently intranasally. Now, Representative Bolden says that type of application would allow for people with little to no medical training to easily give the drug. Reporting live, Heather Hamill, WMUR News 9.
Wow, talk about using the force of government for good. It's about repealing laws and giving people back their freedom. I love to hear stories about this. I'm a little disappointed that Amanda included the word regulation in her response to the media inquiry. Like, regulation's really going to solve this problem. I view regulation as interference from government, who has no business getting between a pharmacy and a client, a customer, or a suffering person who's suffering from heroin addiction or an overdose, could possibly die. I mean, I know people in my life who are gone, who have died from heroin overdoses, and I think it would be a better world with them still alive. They could have had their lives saved if their family members, friends had been able to carry these types of pens and save them during an overdose. Sadly, they're not here. They can't speak up about that. And I think those who are affected by drug addiction are some of the most disenfranchised among us, because they have no one really to speak up for them. It's sort of a no one wants to say, like, oh yeah, these heroin addicts, they really need your help. It's easy to just be tough on crime and say lock them up, and not treat addiction as a medical health concern, but as a criminal issue. Of course, those who follow Peace News know that in any case where there's no victim, there's no crime. So if people are engaging in using a harmful drug and they're hurting their own body, but no one else, well, that may be unsightly and you may not like it, but so long as they're not affecting anyone else, it's not a crime. But I was asked in the chat room moments ago what I think about 9/11 and different conspiracies. And I want to take a moment just to address that, because I don't speculate about conspiracy theories, because there's so much wrong that the government does. There's so much insane, evil laws and actions that these bureaucrats take, coercive actions, without the consent of the people that they're acting on, that there's no point in speculating about what evil things the government has done in secret, because the government does plenty of things that are evil outright in the open. Like, this is one of them, preventing people from being able to administer a drug that would save their lives. No, you are not allowed. You're not allowed to do that. And even with this law, it would only be with a prescription. So why would the government feel like they have the authority to restrict your freedom? Well, there's enough that the government is doing wrong. Antiwar.com reports on just some of the headlines that we'll get into in the second hour here. Justice Department spurns calls to prosecute torturers. Yeah, the Obama administration still operates under Bush torture memos. Torture report sparks worldwide condemnation. The CIA torture practices started long before 9/11. Israeli troops beat Palestinian minister to death, and the U.S. stops paying northern Syrian rebels salaries. All these stories over at antiwar.com. So I don't need to speculate about 9/11 or what the government has done in secret that's evil. They do plenty of stuff out in the open that's evil. They torture people. We know that. That's confirmed. That's enough.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement, and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website, fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper, FPP News, at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world?
Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amped is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your AMP will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. Find out about giving to our Google AdWords campaign at amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com.
The three most important things you can do for LRN.FM are 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. It's my firm belief that the AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented groups. Support all your favorite organizations, but make sure you give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm.
It's a landmark day in the March for Equality here in America. Congress passed the Casinos for Fairness Act today, which gives every mistreated group in America the right to open a casino.
It worked with Native Americans. It will work for the rest of the country. If our society has kept you down, you will get a casino to pull yourselves back up.
Veterans will also have the right to open a casino as a replacement for costlier benefit programs.
I think it'd be nice to have a casino. I mean, I'd rather still be able to walk, but, you know.
While the majority of the country is hailing the Casino Act as a step forward, many Native Americans are objecting to the law.
We are still the most disadvantaged group in America. So all that we ask is that we be allowed to open whorehouses and start legally selling cocaine.
The bill raised the question of whether immigrants should be allowed to own casinos. After much debate, the legislature decided that they would not, but they will be able to sell sliced mango on the street without a vendor license.
This is the Onion News Network.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Yeah, what's up? Welcome back, world. I know you love peace. That's why you're listening. Well, there's some peaceful resistors here in New Hampshire. I am one. I would like you to join us. If you're a person who loves freedom, you should visit freestateproject.org, freestateproject.org. To get active, join the 1,600 other people who have moved to New Hampshire to get active for more freedom. 16,000 people have pledged to make the move, and the Free State Project is now less than 4,000 people away from reaching its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers pledging to make the move to the same geographic location. And I can't stress how important that is. Living in Philadelphia, a city of 1.5 million people, I was feeling alone in my activism because I was the only one doing it. And that's not to say that I was really the only person doing liberty activism. It's just hard to make the connections, to do liberty activism with other people. They've got their lives. This is where the most hardcore people have moved. They've uprooted everything. They haven't waited for the Free State Project to meet its goal of 20,000 signers before moving. They said, to hell with that. There's already exciting activism happening in New Hampshire. Why don't I just join them now? And so I invite you to join us as well. One of the exciting things that's happening as a result of the early movers here in New Hampshire is the libertarian beer renaissance, as reported by Vice.com this week. Livia Gershon reports, what could thousands of libertarians do if they moved en masse to one tiny state and tried their hardest to reduce taxes, regulation, and general government meddling in people's lives? That's the question that one group of die-hard liberty lovers has been trying to answer for more than a decade. Founded in 2001, the movement known as the Free State Project has persuaded nearly 17,000 people from across the U.S. and other countries to sign a pledge promising to move to New Hampshire once the number of signers reaches 20,000. So far, 1,674 early movers have already relocated to the state. As you might expect from libertarians, the Free State migrants don't have a single strategy when it comes to turning New Hampshire into an Ayn Randian paradise. Some Free Staters have been trying to change the state from within the system. Between 15 and 20 members of the 400-seat New Hampshire House of Representatives are now associated with the Free State Project. Others are trying to build their own utopian institutions, starting businesses and schools aimed at putting as much distance as possible between themselves and big government. Kevin Bloom is seriously involved in both. A real estate agent turned craft brewer, Bloom moved to New Hampshire with the Free State Project in 2008 and founded a microbrewery in Concord, the state capital. After the venture failed, due in part, he claims, to regulatory hurdles, he helped lead a campaign to pass the nation's first nano-brewery law, differentiating tiny beer producers, 2,000 barrels a year or less, from their larger counterparts. Essentially, the law legalizes a scaled-up version of home brewing in your tool shed, letting hobbyists and other experimental fermenters tap into the growing market for craft beer. Bloom, who is also the political director of the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance, is now in the process of opening up his own nano brewery named Area 23. Like a lot of libertarians, Bloom combines earnest beliefs that owe much to Ronald Reagan with a style much more in line with Monty Python. The name Area 23, for example, comes from adding Area 51 to Building 19.5, a much-loved, now-defunct regional chain of discount stores, dividing by pi and rounding to the nearest whole number. It works, he says, if you're bad at math. He's also a founder of the Church of the Sword, a religious denomination that, from the looks of its website, is mostly libertarianism with some foam sword fighting. With Area 23 set to open soon, Vice caught up with Bloom to find out more about the project and talk about his various crusades against big government. Vice: why did you move to New Hampshire? Kevin Bloom: I'd been working on a brewery project in Michigan and sold out to my partners, so I wanted to start my own brewery. I had a friend who had moved from Michigan to New Hampshire with the Free State Project, and I ran into a couple other people who had talked about it when I was a volunteer with the Ron Paul campaign in 2007. What drew you to that end of the political spectrum to begin with? The first time I was exposed to politics was in 1978 and 79. When I was living in Michigan, the state decided to raise the drinking age from 18 to 21. Right after I turned 18, which was hardly fair. So I got involved with that. And then the company put a toxic waste dump right next to a river up near my grandparents' property. So I got involved, kind of environmental stuff. And then in 1980, the first actual political campaign I campaigned for was Ronald Reagan. And about Thoreau. Thoreau, that's interesting. Yes, that was the first time I'd ever seen them put together. Ronald Reagan quoting Thoreau's line that government is best, which governs least. Vice asks, you said you got involved with fighting pollution. It seems like that could lead you to be pro-regulations instead of against them. Kevin responds, the big problem isn't that you need new laws. They don't enforce the ones that we have. And also, I found out that government is absolutely the biggest polluter in the country. They do all kinds of incredibly bad things. And when the government's got some money on the line, they're going to approve that toxic waste dump in your backyard, no matter what. If it's a property rights it's a property rights failure, he says. Once upon a time, you were able to sue if pollution entered the atmosphere over your yard. You had property rights straight up to the sky. And if someone was polluting your water table, you'd go after them. But they decided you don't have any real right to sue because that's a government thing. Vice asks, can you talk about your first brewery in New Hampshire? Bloom responds, in 2008, we opened Manchester Brewing. We had, I think, 39 outlets for our beer. We had an agreement with the distributor that they would buy a certain number of cases every week, and they never did. And about 2 months in, they said, we've got enough beer. We don't need any more. We had spent more money on bottling equipment and things like that, and we were really overextended based on the idea that all this beer was going to be going out. But that didn't happen. So we ended up shutting the company down and dissolving it. And part of the reason was there were a lot of laws that I didn't know about when I started the company. You could only sell 1 case per person per day. And beer tourists drove up from North Carolina and Virginia to get beer and came to Concord to get beer. And then you have to tell them that you can only buy 1 case. Really crazy. I hadn't really gotten into the law, but I sort of in self-defense started reading. It turned out, at the time, if you were Budweiser, you basically paid the same thing as some guy who makes 5 gallons at home. $1,200 for your license fee every year, which is a lot if you're just starting out. And so I decided I wanted to change it. And around 2009, started asking other brewers what they thought was important about getting things fixed. And I wrote the first draft of HB 262, which became the Nano Brewery Bill. Was that your first foray into state politics? That was my first one, he says. That was a real education. And I went to all the committee hearings and the subcommittee hearings. I learned how things worked. It started out as a huge bill that would have affected the entire industry and basically reduced barriers of entry for everybody. And what they ended up doing was New Hampshire became the first state in the nation to recognize nano breweries as a separate category. However, Anheuser-Busch got a small change made into the bill before it got out of committee and before the executive session that I didn't know about until it was too late. That was, it limited sales over the counter to 4 ounces. Ridiculous. Well, after it went into effect, more breweries opened in New Hampshire than in any period of New Hampshire's history, including right after Prohibition. This is a real success, which stemmed as part of the Free State Project.
Liberty activists around the country are starting to realize politics alone won't set us free. So what will? At Liberty on the Rocks, we believe the answer starts with living your principles, spreading ideas, and connecting with those around you. By starting a Liberty on the Rocks network, you can make a difference by uniting libertarian thinkers. Find out how much fun it is to build your local network from the ground up. Visit libertyontherocks.org today to get started.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 70% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Oh, it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com. If you can't listen to the Liberty Radio Network's internet streams, free satellite channel, or radio affiliates, no worries. You can listen to LRN.FM from any phone, anywhere. Add this number to your phone. 213-493-0309. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The Liberty Radio Network listen lines are locked into our stream 24 hours a day. Call 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309.
Shiny badges on your jacket. Shiny badges.
This is Davi Barker from ShinyBadges.com, and I just want to personally apologize for airing a jingle week after week, month after month that turned out to be such an infectious brainworm. So to make it up to you, I'm offering a free gift. The next time you make a purchase at ShinyBadges.com, write worms in the transaction comments, and I'll send you something weird.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photos, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.lrn.fm. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit the Liberty Radio Network when you shop at Amazon via shop.lrn.fm.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! On your knees!
What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Badavi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. It is the final segment of the show, but we'll take your calls. You can send a Skype contact request to Peace News now or dial in 443-424-8347 of an unusual form of peaceful resistance, voting with your feet. A lot of people think that they've got the vote of the ballot box, the soap box, or there's the ballot box, the jury box, and the cartridge box. But you've also got the vote of your feet, and you can relocate for more freedom. In fact, there are some activists in New Hampshire who have moved as part of the Free State Project who haven't changed anything about their lives, just their geographic location, and they've found themselves with more freedom and more money in their pockets because for example, one man who simply relocated and informed his employer started receiving about 10% more money in his paycheck because he was no longer being taxed by the state of Virginia. Instead, New Hampshire was taking no tax from his paycheck. So he's 10% richer every paycheck. Pretty amazing. Just one example of what sorts of reasons people might have for moving for more freedom. But we return to this man, Kevin Bloom, who's being reported on and interviewed by Vice.com about his move to New Hampshire and his search for more freedom as he has opened up breweries and in fact changed the law to encourage more competition among microbreweries and nano breweries. According to Bloom, after the new law went into effect, more breweries opened in New Hampshire than in any period of New Hampshire's history, including right after Prohibition. That is huge. We kept trying to fix the law and get it right. Finally, New Hampshire Governor Maggie Hassan signed the bill that actually fixed things, and that went into effect in 2013. If you had a restaurant, then you could sell beer over your counter that you make yourself. That made a big difference for the industry. And now we're just coming out of the woodwork, and we're going to have a big renaissance in beer in New Hampshire for the foreseeable future. He's asked a few more questions about his organization, specifically Area 23, but I'm going to skip those to go down to where he talks about his activities as political director for the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance. Vice asks, what are some things that you're working on now in that capacity? He says, my biggest thing that I'm working on now is civil asset forfeiture reform. And yes, we were working on that before John Oliver came out with his fantastic piece. In 2010, there was a bill introduced to halt the practice in New Hampshire. It's a very bipartisan issue. It's not a Republican thing or a Democrat thing. Beer, you'll notice, is bipartisan too. I like to work on things that you can get everyone involved in. Vice asks, tell me more about civil asset forfeiture. Well, Bloom responds, it probably started back in the time of the witchcraft trials, probably in the 1500s. Say you have a cart and it rolls down a hill and kills somebody's pig. What they'll say is that the cart was possessed by demons, so the cart itself is guilty of killing this guy's pig, so we're going to steal it. So it might become property of the church. In the 80s, police noticed that they could charge money In the 80s, police noticed that if they could charge the money that was used in drug transactions, they could just keep it. And then they noticed, oh, there's other stuff we can charge too, like Corvettes and boats and houses and other buildings. With modern civil asset forfeiture, generally what happens, the police stop people and say, you're carrying any cash in your car? If you say yes, they take it. The average amount seized is about $1,500. It costs more for you to hire an attorney to fight it, and you won't. In almost all cases, people are never charged with a crime, much less convicted. They just take the money, and you find out that you have to sue the police to get your money back. So that's a really serious issue. I think a lot of people have the impression of the Free State Project of being a little bit goofy, Vice says. Stephen Colbert did a piece on the Free State Project members in Keene, whose activism involved bothering parking ticket enforcers. I don't like this response by Bloom, but I'll read it anyway. He says, I think there's a big split in general between what happens in a college town like Keene and what happens when you're looking at business and life in general. I disagree with people being hassled. I disagree with it on rudeness grounds. We should keep a humorous attitude if we can. On the other hand, we're in a fairly serious contest to protect people's rights. Now, that's the sweet, short answer, but yeah, of course, it's easy to say you disagree with people being hassled. Who doesn't? But is that what is happening in the video? I don't think it's fair to make that assumption. He says he disagrees with it on rudeness grounds, but then doesn't specify who exactly is being rude and why or where. Calling a parking official a thief, telling them that you don't appreciate what they're doing, making threats to steal people's cars, that could be considered rude by some, but I think it's perfectly legitimate. These are government officials who are being paid by taxpayer money, and they are stealing. They're taking something that doesn't belong to them just for not paying a parking meter. Well, I don't think parking should be a crime, especially if there are other spaces available. They're really not solving any problems by making threats to people. Now, Vice continues. They ask, how are your political involvement and private ventures connected? And Bloom responds, the cost of entry into any business needs to make sense and generally be as low as possible. Quite frankly, the days of going to the bank or investors and saying, hey, I'm going to open a brew pub. I need $1 million. Those days are pretty much gone. You can open up a nano brewery with very little money, but you have to be able to sell what you make. I have a friend and Free State Project member Amanda Bolden who makes gourmet ice cream, and it's really, really good. We've talked about Amanda Bolden, who proposed the new heroin overdose cure legislation here in New Hampshire. And so she wanted to make it, and she found out that the laws, what the laws were about street vendors. She wanted to get a cart and just take it downtown. The fee was like $1,500, and you have to be attached to a restaurant. Well, anyway, she doesn't do that anymore, but she was elected to the legislature, and this is her first term. I like that she's a member of the legislature, but then again, she made really good ice cream. I think society has lost in that deal. And what a great point. Kevin, he speaks really well and intelligently. I admire what he does, his courage in starting these businesses. That's the kind of change that I want to see happen in my environment, the world, my community, is people taking charge of their own lives, starting businesses, trading with their friends and neighbors, and then going out into the public and serving them as well. These people who travel from afar to buy Nano Brewery beer, or even people who stop at the Porcupine Thrift Store here in Keene, New Hampshire. Another exciting entrepreneurial venture that's taking place because of the Free State Project. All of the participants in this new store are movers from other states who've gotten together because we believe in living free. We want to achieve liberty in our lifetime. One of the small ways we're doing that is by opening a business and opening our doors to the public. Hopefully we can serve them. Hopefully we can give them products, goods, and services that they value. And in that way, be able to grow, earn the trust of the community, and do good for the community, and also enrich ourselves. That's what I'd like to see. Unfortunately, the rest of the world, it's not going that way. We read, and this is important to mention in Peace News' final minutes, that there was a CIA torture report that was recently released, and there have been a couple of people who've done a good job reporting on it, Mother Jones being one of them. The Anti-Media was another. Vice, in fact, did their own report. One of the most palatable, and it was a little uncomfortable still. I mean, any report on torture is going to be, but they went through the alphabet and made a list of each different crime that the United States government committed and the CIA committed in their torture report. And they made graphics to go along with them. It made it a little more palatable so that people will actually discover what it is that the CIA has done. And they're self-reporting. So, I mean, who's to say whether or not they're being honest? The headline is an illustrated A to Z of torture. It was published today under the column Comics. Just a couple of examples here. D is for diapers. Detainees were forced to wear diapers for up to 3 days. Here's another. H is for hose. Dousing with water from a hose. N is for naked, prolonged and forced nakedness. P is for penetration, anal penetration with various objects, usually bottles. Enforced shaving, dunking in tanks of ice water, revving a power drill near someone's head, wall standing, and many more. We don't have time to get to those, and I'm sort of glad we don't. This is Peace News. Catch us next Tuesday at peacenewsnow.com.
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day.
Hey, I want to thank you listeners who are still live on YouTube. This show wouldn't be possible without you. I do it for you. I think it's important to talk about stories of peaceful resistance and focus on the people who are changing things for the better. Lord knows we could go through enough police abuse stories to make our heads turn blue, but I think it's worth focusing some of our time and energy on those people who are making the world a better place. So if you enjoyed this content, I invite you to reward me with some Bitcoin. You can do that with the QR code up there on your screen. I ask for about 50 cents an episode, which isn't that much. So if you got some value out of this episode, if you learned something, if you enjoyed it, kick some Bitcoin my way. We can have a value for value exchange. And let's do this again Tuesday. Thanks, everyone. Peace.